Hey guys, welcome to Star Wars Timeline. My name is Ben. I took a short break from reviewing the Ewoks show, but we're back on track. I'm on season 2, and today we're going to talk about episodes 11 and 12. They're listed as episode 6 on the Disney Plus, but I'm going numerically by it. It's that instance of 2 episodes combined into one. Each one is around 10 to 15 minutes long. I didn't exactly count the timing. Anyway, let's get into it, guys. Full spoiler alert, I will talk about the story, the characters here. If you haven't watched these episodes, please go see them, return, and let me know in the video section below what you thought of them, what do you think of my review. The first of the 2 episodes was number 11, called The Hard Sell. So we have our young heroes, Wicket, Teebo, Latara, and Kneesaa. They're going off to this trader in the far distance from their village called Muth the Trader. Their objective, they want these Edon tusks, right? And they will do everything they need to do, walking around and trading his goods in order, I guess, to attract customers or get valuable goods to return and exchange them for these tusks that they want. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I enjoyed the start of this episode. At first, I was a little bit wary. I've discussed my reaction to the shorter episodes. They really need to nail the story down fast. They got to tell us, what is the conflict in the beginning? What is the ultimate objective or goal that our heroes are trying to get? And we clearly get it from the beginning of the episodes. And basically, I guess it's a reference to the young children in America in the 80s and early 90s that they're, or even today, they would stand outside of their home, right, and try to sell lemonade. Some kind of beginning lessons and tropes of understanding the enterprise of trade and exchange. Hey, I'm offering a service, or I'm trying to do something for you, and I'm going to get something in return for my effort, which is in itself is a pretty cool lesson for children that is presented here in a playful manner in the context of the Star Wars show. But also, if we look at it from the Star Wars perspective, it sort of gives us this whimsical and funny look of how actually Ewoks sustain themselves on a daily basis, right? They obviously produce things in their home village, but they also go around and they trade with others. I'm like, okay, this is pretty fun. So they basically get his goods, the traders, right? And of course, the boys and the girls have to get into the small rivalry. And they basically split the 2 sides of the river, and Wicket and Teebo, they say, we're going to go this route, and you girls go this way, and let's see who is the better trader. Once again, I really appreciate that. I like it when they show this competitive spirit and say, they're not segregating that, you know, it's boys and girls and like, you know, there's specific roles and types that things they're gonna perform. No, it's just friends are trying to up one another and say, no, we are the better traders. So once again, it's done in a very lighthearted manner that I really enjoyed. And what's cool about this episode, I guess the showrunners wanted to revisit some of the earlier creatures that we've seen before, and we get to meet the Kaggles here, which surprisingly will play into the outcome of this episode, which I didn't anticipate at all. And I was really happy to see the old Larry, who is just referred to as the alien. He's this really weird, cute-looking creature, and he basically conned Teebo and Wicket. He's like, look how old I am, and, you know, no, I don't have any friends. He's crying, and he actually gets the blanket that they're trying to sell him. Their objective was to get some goods out of it, but in the end, he just plays into their emotions. He's like, oh, please, can I have it? And then he just bounces. They're like, oh, man, these kids have a lot to learn about the Enterprise, and they actually come out of it with nothing. Kneesaa and Latara, they actually work their angle on this old mean Bodok that our friends encountered in the beginning of this episode. Once again, I didn't know how he's going to be worked into the story, but it was just nice to see that, hey, Ewoks have neighbors all over the Endor moon, and they're different species, and they have different roles in their life in the society or whatever. And this is just like an old mean guy that they're all trying to dodge. He's not necessarily violent, but it reminds me a lot of things from my childhood where I used to live in Russia, and as a kid running around the block, you always had this one old guy who like either screams at you or he's mean, he tries to chase you off his property, and you always have that one person his house you're trying to avoid. This was the same example here, but our girls managed to be a little bit more resourceful, and I would say braver. They actually tried to work an angle on him and tried to sell him this shampoo and other products, and then the candy, which obviously they actually aggravate the guy, and they have to all run away from him. And as they're walking back to the trader, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can't predict where this is gonna go. Neither side has accomplished anything. Their first experience with trading has failed. How's it going to turn out? But as they walk inside, obviously the trader's like, well, kids, job well done. I don't know what magic tricks you had up your sleeve, but everybody's coming in. The Kegels is there, the old Larrys, the old grumpy Bodog. He also enjoyed the candy apparently so much, or the cucumbers that they had, whatever goods there were. But as it's their time to get their goods, the tusks, the actual a creature comes out, right? The Edon is like, no, you don't understand. These tusks belong to me. I'm going to get them back. Because honestly, I was looking at this episode from sort of a more modernized perspective. There's a lot of poaching in Africa, and they kill off these elephants just to get their tusks, which is not actually a good thing to do. It's quite mean, right? And showing this to kids that our heroes actually desire these tusks, I was like, oh man, how is this going to work out? Is this episode basically a product of its time? It hasn't aged very well. But actual creature comes in, and it's very tongue-in-cheek. He basically gets his tusks, and he's away. Again, it ends on a happy note. And overall, I really enjoyed this episode, even though it's a little bit fantastical, a little bit over the top as far as Star Wars universe is concerned. I just enjoyed a day in like routine daily lives of these Ewoks and they were trying to accomplish. Now, the next episode, episode 12, called A Warrior and a Lurdo, which is a little bit closer to our warrior Ewok culture. Because as we know from the previous season and from previous episodes, that Wicket takes his position very seriously. He aspires to be the next generation of warriors. He even has his belt. He constantly tries to improve. And he has a lot of things he wants to show to adults that he's capable, right? We begin this episode with Chief Chirpa showing a hunting lesson on this wild hog, and he shows the rest of the adult Ewoks. This is how you do hunting. This is our necessity. This is how we survive. And this is the lesson. And obviously the girls, Princess Nisa, she's like, oh, look, my dad, he's hunting. He's showing everybody the way. And Wicket automatically, he's in his student kind of role. He's like, you know what? I have a lot to offer as well. I hope that Chief Chirpa pays attention to me next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to train the next Ewok to be a warrior, even though he's a trainee himself. It's quite a bold move. And obviously we see that one of the angles that he's working is that this is true motivation. But the other aspect of it, he's trying to impress the girls. He's trying to impress Latara and Nisa. And we understand where a boy's instinct comes from. Like, okay, he wants to impress his friends. That's pretty cool. But he does something that is not very smart. He makes a bet with Latara. He's like, hey, you know what? I'm so cool. I'm going to actually teach any Ewok in the village to be a warrior in just one day. And she says, oh, yeah? Well, how about you go and you teach Teebo to be a warrior? He's like, oh, man. All right, we're going to do this. And, of course, the teaching begins. Even though that we know that Teebo is actually a wizard apprentice, right? That he's learning to use the Force and stuff like that. He's learning the old wizard ways of the Ewoks. Wicket wants to make a warrior out of him, and every attempt that he makes fails. And I actually like that a lot because this episode sticks to the show's roots, and it's not trying to just play into episode and make a warrior out of Teebo, because that's not who he is. He is a wizard, and it makes a very interesting conflict in the episode. So no matter what he tries, he fails, right? He's not intended to be a warrior. He's a wizard. And Wicket, basically, after many tries, he gives up on them. Oh, man, you're a lost cause. Like, I'm not going to teach you. I lost this bet. And as the Wicket walks off, I really enjoy what this episode does next. Because before, I didn't know where this episode is going. But now, there's a little dilemma. There's a Tambles family, and they're saying, look, this evil creature is basically, it's built the dam, right? And he's basically hugging all the water, and he's not letting us use it. And if we don't get to our water soon, we're going to die. So now Teebo has something else to look out for. It's not just him becoming a warrior. It's not to play into Wicket's ego that he can train anyone. There's a dire situation here. Real family needs some real help. So basically Teebo uses his magic, right? And he breaks this dam, and that's how family is restored. And guys, what I really actually enjoyed about this episode a little bit more than the previous one is the visuals. I always pay attention to the background paintings and how things are animated, how things are moving. And a lot of this episode takes place in the lake. Man, I really enjoyed the visuals on this episode, how they show the reflections in the pond and how the splashes and how the Ewoks and this hippo-like creatures basically chasing after them and all the different tricks it's using in the water. I felt that it was beautifully animated, just a pleasant show to watch. And I can't imagine like a kid today seeing the show for the first time. If you're like a 5 or 6 year old, they would probably be delighted, because I honestly was. From artistic standpoint, the show delivers 100%. And at the end of it, I really enjoyed the fact that where it started off kind of almost like nonsensical thing, where it basically was revolving all around Wicket's ego, that he could be a capable warrior. It actually ended up being something important, that Teebo performed a very essential and important task for other denizens of the Endor moon. So it ended up pretty well. I really enjoyed it a lot. And at the end of it, of course, they got to make it funny again and bring it home. And we see that Wicket loses the bet and he's going to go and babysit the kids. That was quite enjoyable. Anyway, guys, I felt that both of these episodes, for very short duration of time that they were on, delivered beautifully. Each one set up the premise of the episode right from the start. It told you what it's going to be about. And even for me, for an adult, I was very surprised how the heart cell ended up. It was quite a surprise. I didn't anticipate it. And how they changed things up in the Warrior and the Lurdo and twisted it around. And the focus shifted from Wicket to Teebo. And he became the main hero. He actually did something valuable. So if I were to rate both of these episodes, I would give them straight 4 out of 4. These were very enjoyable. Once again, for those of you guys who watched my previous Ewok reviews, know that I'm a very greedy kind of Star Wars fan. If I enjoy something a lot, I want the show to go indefinitely. And I'm always like having my fingers crossed. The showrunners on Disney Plus who are behind, Star Wars Visions and other animated shows, that they would probably recognize that a lot of these vintage animation series have appeal with Star Wars audience, and that maybe at some point later on they decide to either reboot them or continue them. I would probably personally go for a full reboot. Just imagine Ewoks with modern animation, with beautiful techniques that they have, perhaps longer episode length, maybe like traditional 25 minutes per episode, and make it a little bit more tight around, the writing, make it mature just a little bit more, maybe like for teenagers or even young adults, never know, and make the Ewok culture a little bit more tribal, a little bit more mature, just introduce new elements into it. It will be really, really interesting to see. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for checking me out. Sorry I have been behind on my reviews. It's summertime. I was taking a lot of breaks here and there, but I'm back to watching my Ewok show and reviewing it for you guys. Thanks a lot, and I'll catch you next time.